All right, so we're going to go over how to solve quadratics using Desmos. Now, in your packet that you've got, that if you got one that was printed, it's got the notes on how to solve it using a TI-84 calculator. But we all know that you might not have one of those at home, but we also know that you get to use Desmos on your final exam. So we want you to practice using it. So I have put the pictures of the questions in as we go through the packet. So we're going to start with this one. It says, make it a little bit bigger. Suppose that the function f of t equals a negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 32, and it represents the height of a ball t seconds after it is dropped from the top of a building. How many seconds does it take the ball to reach the ground? So I went ahead and I typed this in y equals 0 because that's the ground. It's not going to go below the ground. You're not going to drop it off the building and it travel all the way through to the center of the earth. It's going to fall from the building to the ground. So we want to know the amount of time. So if the height is here, our time is going to be our x-axis. So right here I've typed in y equals a negative 16t squared plus 16t plus 32. And I'm going to click this little dot, and that's going to put my quadratic in. So I can hover and move it to here, and it shows me that it crosses the x-axis at 2, 0. So it took 2 seconds for the ball to hit the ground, because this is our time. 2 seconds. All right, let's check the next one. Philip threw a rock from a vertical cliff. The function f of x equals a negative 16x squared plus 32x plus 128 models the height of the rock x feet from where it was thrown. At what time will the rock hit the ground? So again, we're talking about time. What time will it hit the ground? So our time's not going to be here. It's not going to be our y-axis. It's our x-axis. What time did it hit the ground? So our time is going to be here. So I've typed this in. Y equals a negative 16t squared plus 32t plus 128. And here I see that it crosses in 2 places. But if we think about throwing something off of a cliff, can we go backwards? Like, are we going to throw it behind us if we're throwing it off the cliff? No, it's going in front. So it would not be logical for this to be a negative. And we can't go backwards in time. So it's going to be 4. It took 4 seconds to hit the ground. All right, let's check out the next one. A diver jumps off a boat and travels the path modeled by y equals a negative 8t squared plus 56x minus 48. What is the distance from the boat to the spot where he hit the water? So we're talking about distance. How far? What's the distance from the boat to where he hit the water? So if we look back at our entries, I went ahead and typed this in. We've got y equals a negative 8t squared plus 56t minus 48. So I see I've got my spots here. I've got one right here and one over here. So we're talking about the distance from this point to this point, and we can count that over. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's the distance? It's 5 feet. He traveled 5 feet from the time he jumped off the boat till he jumped into the water. All right, and we've got one more to check out. The model of a bridge is sketched using the quadratic equation y equals a negative 5x squared plus 120x, where x is the distance in miles. And it wants to know how long is the bridge. So we're talking about distance again. So we're going from one point to the other point. How long is the bridge? All right, so we type in y equals a negative 5x squared plus 120x. And we see that it's a little bit farther apart. But we start at 0, and our distance is to 24. So that's where it crosses again. So we go from 0 to 24. So this bridge is going to be 24 miles long. That's how we figure that out. It's the distance, if we're thinking about distance, is from the time we cross the x-axis at one spot to where we cross it at the other, or whether we're going up and down. We've got this one. The profit Patricia makes from selling X holiday ornaments is modeled by the function P of X equals a negative X squared plus 24X minus 63. Over which intervals does Patricia make a profit? So we look here. She made a profit from the third ornament to the 21st ornament. So she makes a profit from 3 to 21 ornaments.